Hi, my boys. I'm going to play Westminster Mendez versus Westminster School District. This is only like 4 minutes long. I'm going to play it while I did the cards. Let's see. I'm lazy today.
In Orange County here, we had about 15 school districts that had separate schools for Mexican American kids by 1925. They had them in Santana, Garden Grove, Placencia, Orange, in many schools.
I'm gonna put all the cards in a bag.
So, Mr. Gonzalo Mendez moves his family to Westminster. And when he moved his family, he told his sister, go take my kids to school and enroll them. And when she tried to do that, the school district there, the school people said, you can't go to this school. Your kids can. Because Mr. Mendez's sister was married to a man who was light-skinned, and her kids came out light-skinned. They were not dark. And they had a strange name. I can't remember the name.
Me being lazy.
Name right now, Miduri or something like that. It didn't sound Mexican. So when the aunt went back and told her brother, she went back and told Gonzalo, my kids can get enrolled in the school, but your kids can't. Why not? Well, because they said they're Mexicans and they have to go to the all-Mexican school. Well, Gonzalo was upset with that. He says, what the hell is going on here? He says, my kids should be able to go to the same school your kids are going to, plus the school that's the good school, the integrated school, and not to the inferior Mexican school. The Anglo school had electric saws and lathes and things of that nature.
Because it's on a slippery
Mexican school, they had a hammer, and a manual saw, and a couple of planers, hand planers. The Mexican school had discarded books that were old. The Anglo school had the newer books. In the 30s, in the 40s, we didn't have any Mexican American attorneys. And there were only a couple in L.A., but this attorney by the name of David Marcus had already shown that he was willing to take up cases for Mexican Americans on issues that were very, very key, especially in constitutional law areas. So he agreed to help Mr. Mendez with his lawsuit against the Westminster School District. But he told Gonzalo, you know what, Gonzalo? I think your case with these, he asked him, he says, is this going on in other school districts that you know? And Gonzalo says, of course. He says, my compadre over in Santa Ana, his kids are going to segregated schools, and I know that the schools in Orange are segregated, and I know that in Garden Grove they're also segregated.
There's murder in here.
So David Marcus told Gonzalo,
I'm getting cold cases
you
here.
need to bring in those other families to make this a stronger case. Then we can do what's called a class action. The official name of the lawsuit really is Gonzalo and Felicitas Mendez and their children against the Westminster School District, Lorenzo Ramirez and his wife and their children against the El Modena School District, William Estrada and his wife on behalf of their children against the Santa Ana School District, Tomas Estrada, William Guzman and his wife against the Santa Ana School District on their behalf of their children, and Frank Palomino and his wife on behalf of their children against the Garden Grove School District. I feel bad that not all the parties are always acknowledged in the lawsuit. Whenever we talk about this very important case, it's unfortunate that that's the way it is, that it has to be shortened. These families put together some money, and then we started having fundraisers conducted by other groups and people to help fund the lawsuit. I think it's important from a historical perspective for children to understand all of these cases. It shows that Mexican Americans were part of the civil rights movement to improve.
But yet none of the teachers taught us that in school. They refused to teach us this in school. And I went to Westminster School District, and they did not teach us this.
Also participating in this whole process.
And what made me mad is that no one from school knew that the reason why I was in special ed. I was in special ed because a teacher didn't want me to keep calling her out. Yeah, Mrs. Filer. So let's do that.
Hi everyone, I'm Sandra Roby, the writer-producer of the Emmy-winning documentary Mendez vs. Westminster for all the children.
How many people made money off of this case?
Mendez vs. Westminster for free.
Because it wasn't for the children.
It's been my goal to see that Mendez is taught across the country, and 2022 will be the 75-year anniversary of Mendez versus Westminster. We can make this party happen, so let's do it. And make no mistake,
but yet Native Americans were what?
But hear this. Black Lives Matter. Make America gay again.
So when my son got attacked by another child in his sleep, he said the boy with the overalls and no feet like hit him in his leg, like stabbed him or something like that. So we were getting something in the apartment for sure. But all I told him is like, you see what I do, like what do you need help with and whatnot. So I'm getting help.
So when you watch the film, please collect your questions and your thoughts and contact me on my website, sandraroby.com. That's Sandra, ROBBIE.com. And I would love to hear your thoughts. And please sign up for Mendez Military. It's a community group that I'm starting to help to share ideas and ways that we can send the Mendez message across the country in time for the 2022 anniversary.
Oh my God.
Mendez Monday, Zoom
2018, I was having so many dreams about this. So many people were trying to take advantage of her, the Mendez, Sylvia Mendez.
And it incorporates humor and lots of insights that I've gleaned from working on
the city of Westminster is so milking this case, and they're not even listening to the children. So who's ever doing these documentaries are not really seeing. Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed.
Share those ideas with you. So check that out. So
it's human sex trafficking. That's what it is.
Keep this in mind. This is a very humble half-hour film. And what you're going to see at the front is a short 2-minute excerpt that was not part of the original. It is an interview with a gentleman named Robert L. Carter, who worked with Thurgood Marshall, and he's going to explain the direct connection between Mendez versus Westminster and Brown versus Board of Education, which I feel is so powerful. And also,
it's not powerful enough for me because it didn't do anything for me. It really didn't.
Dinosaurs, no fancy computer graphics, no explosions, except for what I'm hoping will be going off in here as you.
When I went to Westminster High School, I was hit with
and you can see the connection.
So many roadblocks, and I was getting silenced left and right by these teachers and administrators, and no one knew it.
So I'm hoping that
meanwhile, everyone is stuck on their TV, stuck on Got Milk, stuck on MTV, stuck on The Hills, stuck on reality TV. And here I am going, holy shit, what is going on here?
And that's the American dream I'm working
Must be nice.
So thank you so much. I'm Sandra Roby. Check out sandraroby.com.
These adults were trying to silence me then. Now they're like,
when we talk about the landmark school desegregation case, Brown versus Board of Education, the names that come to mind most frequently are Supreme Court Justice Earl Warren.
Who's running the school? Who's running the school? Who is in charge of
the name of the man who
the school districts?
Wrote the argument for Brown versus Board of Education is not so readily known. His name is Robert L. Carter, and he, like Thurgood Marshall and Earl Warren, was also involved in the Mendez case.
If you are supposedly a chosen one, you are appointed. And when you are appointed, you will get
he spoke with me in
this
June
type of
2003
things.
About the historic link between Mendez versus Westminster and Brown versus Board of Education.
Before I went to
Army, no. After I came out of the Army, I guess, I came in contact with it in this case, Westminster versus the school board, which is a case in California.
I'm taking the whole school board down.
And which
every school.
These
even Oprah's school.
Spanish-speaking children, as I recall, were the school board was segregating them.
Even when I was little, the kids, when they spoke Spanish, they would get in trouble. They would get they wouldn't get it if they get enough or if they get enough slips. They do get expelled for disruption of class. But they did get like
when I learned about that,
like their lunch recess taken away or privilege taken away if they were speaking Spanish. Now, I know I got in trouble for being in those crowds, and I just like
what I did was
I don't speak Spanish, but this is bullshit, so I'm gonna be I do speak Spanish.
Documentation, try to write a brief, and the brief being segregation per se was unconstitutional, and to utilize that, as a matter of fact, as the model for the brief eventually in Brown versus the Board of Education, which I wrote. So that's the link between my Westminster and Brown.
If we continue to use money instead of listening to the children, then the children are going to grow up not knowing what love is, not knowing what support is, help is, guidance is, their dreams. They're going to fall depressed, they're going to fall ill, they're going to commit suicide, and they're going to die, and that's the end of humanity. So if you guys keep continuing schools like this, that's a problem. I'm against school. I'm against teachers.
At home. I actually didn't find out about it until I went away to college.
And these kids...
UC Riverside. I went to UC Riverside. I took a Chicano Studies class. And although we didn't study
Sylvia Mendez was too young to understand what was going on. She's being used.
And I looked at the story. My parents' names are rather unique, Gonzalo and Felicitas. So I figured it can't be a coincidence. So, and of course it had my brother, Gonzalo, Anonimo, and Sylvia's name, so I knew. So I called home, and I said, I found this story. And by that time, my father had passed away. He died when I was 13. So my mother just said, oh, yeah. I said, oh, yeah? That's it? She said, oh, yeah, we did that. That happened before you were born. And it was no big deal to my parents at that time.
My father always wanted to be a
Think
foreman.
about the death.
He wanted to be the boss, knowing that he had always been the grape picker and the orange picker. So during the
this
war,
also has to relate to
put in internment camps.
Cesar Chavez.
And his banker told my father, Gonzalo, you always wanted to be the boss, so why don't you lease the land from the Minomizos? They're in internment camp, but they want to lease the land so they won't lose it. So he went and he arranged with the Minomizos. I remember we went to
you know, it's sad. Chicken coop came up,
and they signed papers, and we got the ranch. He sold the cafe, and he rented out the houses in San Diego. And we moved back to Westminster, where he had grown up.
My sister and I were sick before they went to the camp because we had chicken pox. So we were put in the hospital, my sister and I, by ourselves. And my parents all went to the internment camp. So we were left behind. We were in the hospital for about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and they were happy to see us go because we would run up and down the hospital and ask for food all the time. That's just little kids. You know, we were little kids. And so when we got well, a nurse took us all the way to Arizona. And I remember when we got into Arizona near the camp, I saw my mother on the platform. She was crying, Poston. That was in Arizona. I remember that Mr. Monroe, the banker man, I remember that he was the go-between the families, and he got the Mendez family and my father and my brother, I guess, together, and they leased the land to them, and that's how we came to know each other. Yeah, and he was a very honest man. He was a hard worker, and I think that he had a very
What
personable
Walt Disney
appearance
was
about
telling
him.
me
He's a very
is
personal person. Yeah.
he
My
left
sister and I
Easter
would sit there
eggs
and
for
go,
everybody.
"Gee, he's nice looking, little." You know how
And
the kids are.
When we came back to Westminster, it was like 1943, and he
I don't know
decided
what else to say, because
that
you guys could do it too.
he would ask my Aunt
Right
Sally
there.
to
If you
take us
want it,
and
it's right there.
enroll us in Westminster School. We were living on Edward Street, so we weren't living where he had been raised. He had been raised in the Mexican district there on Olive Street, where all the Mexicans lived. Now we lived all the way on the other side of Westminster, where the farm
So
was.
might they?
And so he told my Aunt Sally, take her to school and enroll the
Ingrid,
kids and enroll them there on 17th Street. Because
Sandy,
that's where we belong. That's the district we belong. So when she gathered
Angela,
us all up, it was Gonzalo and Jerome and her two children. It was Alice and Virginia. So when we got to the school, they told her,
I miss my kids.
Miss Vidari, you can leave your kids here, but your brother's kids, Gonzalo's kids, will have to go to the Mexican school. The Mexicans are
This has been going
segregated
on.
here in Westminster. They have to go to the Mexican school. But my Aunt Sally said, why am I going to leave mine here? She says, well, yours don't have to go there. You know, my Aunt Sally's last name was Vidar.
So I always question those big, heavy Mexican gangs over there.
His last name was Vidari, and she was, and the kids were very light skinned,
yeah,
Alice and
you
Virginia.
guys just
So
fucked
said,
up. You guys fucked me over. Like, I don't know,
here.
West 13, the orphans.
Take my brother's
like,
kids. My kids will not stay. So she gathered us all up and she took us home. And when she got home, she told
there's more.
My dad.
There's even the
Gonzalo,
bastard
they will
crew.
not allow your kids there. And my father said, "Oh, Sally."
I don't know the Vietnamese names, but
I'll go and speak to the principal tomorrow.
I just combined them to the bastard crew.
Segregated throughout the Southwest.
They're the city. They're the Vietnamese gang all have ties to city council, to the school district. They all have ties. The huge mafia. The teachers pimp is Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom's pimp is Bill Gates.
Established in Orange County, and after that, children were routinely segregated, so that by 1930 there were 15 Mexican schools distributed throughout the county. Orange County was not any different from.
And you think these Mexican schools are good for your kid? No.
Segregated Mexican children.
You know damn right they're getting raped, abused, neglected.
Between 80 and 90% of all school districts segregated Mexican children in the Southwest.
Pretty much everything was segregated.
Why did we even have to have schools in the first place? Think about it. Schools, this is why we're in this place. This is why we have homeless people. This is why we have people can't take care of themselves because they don't know how. My mom doesn't know how to take care of herself, but for some reason I know how to take care of myself. Yeah, because I had a spirit helping me. I had my mom, my grandmother helping me. I had the ancestors helping me. They knew that this was going to happen. And as I'm reading my ancestors' stories of saying, like, our grandkids are going to be screaming and crying for nature, and it's not going to be any, and I'm screaming, and it's dying. It's painful, because I was their dream. I am their, they warned me about this, and all I can do is just go with the flow and change the way that accepted.
We like to enroll the kids here. We live in this district. When we were in Santa Ana, we lived in the Mexican district, and the kids were going to a Freeman school, which was all Mexican. But now we live in the white district.
I love Little House on the Prairie. Love it.
Westminster kids are segregated. The Mexicans have to go to Mexican schools.
Love that show.
But why? This is
I used to watch every time I was pregnant with Anthony.
We are allowed to segregate, and it was.
I hated being pregnant, but what I liked about being pregnant was getting to watch all of the shows that I got to watch when I wasn't pregnant.
You'll hear from me. So
And
the next day he decided he'd go
watching
to
it
school
when I
here
was
in
pregnant,
Westminster, and they told him the same thing. I'm sorry, Mr. Mendez, but there's nothing
I
we
it
can
was
do. So he decided to go to the school
I'm
board,
looking at something I
Orange
didn't
County School
see
Board, and they
that
told
it
him,
was
well,
there
Mr.
before, something
Mendez,
like
they said
that.
the
I didn't
same thing.
see
Well, my father thought
some
it was such an injustice because the school
I
in
didn't see
Westminster,
something
the Hoover School,
there
was made out of,
that
it was a
wasn't
terrible
there
little
before. Or
shack.
I saw
I don't
something
even
there that
remember
wasn't there
having
before.
any monkey bars or any swings or anything like that to play with. In fact, when we had to eat lunch, we would go outside and eat lunch in the tables that were right next to the cow pasture, so we get all the flies there from the cow pasture.
17
There was
17 did
wire
come in
around
today.
the cow pasture because to keep the cows out, but it was electrocuted. There was a little bit of electricity. At that time, it was allowed to have a little bit of electricity on the
What
wires
I found
to
out
keep the
today,
cows from getting too close to the fence.
A18.
So my
Okay.
father thought that was so horrible.
I'm still trying to figure out A18 because my dad is
he was
A18.
talking to this man that used to
My
come
dad's
to the
birthday is
farm
August
and bring the
18.
produce
So
from,
he comes
to take the
in
produce back
as
to,
that. But lately it's been
Los Angeles
slapping
to
me in the
Alameda.
face and he goes,
And
that's not me, that's not me.
he said,
You
Mr.
have to
Mendez, I
divide
know
it. You
about a
have to
lawyer,
divide
Mr.
it. So I'm like,
Marcus, that
okay,
will
how do I
help
do
you.
that? Because
He
that's
will
fucking
fight.
hard.
He has
Because he
fought
died
for
on the
Mexicans aren't
16th.
allowed to go to the
And there's
parks in
two
Los
8s
Angeles, and they're
in
not allowed
A18. And you combine two 8s is
go to the
16.
swimming pools until Sunday when the
So
water's very
then
dirty. Then they're allowed to, but
the
they can't go
16
during
and
the
then
week.
there's a
He
1.
said
It's
he
a
has fought
17.
those
And
two
I'm like,
cases
oh
and he has
shit.
won. I'm
That's my
sure
grandpa. Because my
he'll
grandpa's
help you.
birthday is
Well,
July
at that
17th.
time,
He is
was
17.
making a lot of money. It was during the war. They used to make like $1,000 a day.
So I
They
have
had
to go
like
back
40
to my
acres of
grandpa.
asparagus, and they had
So as I go back
leased
to my
some other
grandpa,
acres from another man,
I
and it was
I do
tomatoes.
not
They were growing tomatoes
have a
and
relationship
chilies,
with him. I'm
and
mad.
so
I'm
he had
angry.
the
I have
money.
to mend
So he
that.
decided
And he's trying to
hire a
help
lawyer,
me
and he
with my other
started
grandpa.
working on it.
And my other grandpa, the Mexican
Well,
one,
at
my
that time, it was
dad's
a group in Santa
grandpa,
Ana
Pops,
and that was fighting this case, and
is
he went to them and he
showing
said, he
me
asked them,
like
can you help me? Because I want to fight this. And at that time, they did not want to help him.
how to make me
They
stronger, how
refused to
to
help him. And I remember because my mother told me that he came
stay
crying. He
calm
says, can
in
you
this
believe
this
Freda?
difficult
They
time.
will not help me fight this case. And here they are supposed to be fighting for the
I get a
Mexicans.
male energy, a
My
male,
says, we
like
can
a
do
dominant,
all. We
not a
have the money
dominant,
right
but
now.
a sturdy,
So they proceeded.
A18.
What
I'm
happened
getting
was
a
through coordination,
leadership,
folks like Hector
hard,
Franco in Santa Ana and
like
Fred
fighting. You do
Ross,
have to work
who
for
was
it.
an Anglo who helped a lot of the movements in
Patience,
the area,
balance, calm. Like
came in
I said,
and
calm
they went
already,
around. They
but
said, "You have a cousin, Bob
it's
Torres, over in
warning.
El
A
Medina.
lot
You
of
have a
people are
cousin
not
in
gonna
Garden
like you.
Grove
A
or
lot of people
Westminster, Santa
are
Ana.
wishing
Can we
ill
set
towards
this up?"
you,
And they set up a test case to each
attacking
district,
you. But since
and
you
then
got
they
the two
filed the
8s,
lawsuit.
like you're the one, but you have the two 8s on your side.
During the time that they were fighting, my father
So as
was
long as you
taking a
know
lawyer all
that
over to the different areas, and
you,
they decided that he would be the one to accompany him. My mother ran
as
the
long as you're
farm.
true to
At
yourself
that time, she was
and
running the 40
you're
acres. She
focused
had
and
workers. She had braceros
you're
from
doing what
Mexico.
you're
They were
told,
working here legally at that time. The
it will take
Mexicans
you
were allowed
somewhere.
to come here
It will
legally and
guide you
work.
to the place that you want to
And
go
so
to.
she ran all the farm, and my dad was out there with the lawyers, and he was meeting with different people. He was meeting
You
with the
gotta
people
be
from
careful.
Santa Ana. He was meeting with the people from El Modena, and they finally went to court. And when they went to court, they won the first time in Superior Court. They won, and Judge McCormick said that it was totally illegal what they were doing. So he said, from now on, we will not have segregation. Well, the Westminster School Board decided to appeal, because anytime anybody wins the case, you always have the right to appeal, and they appealed the case.
Judge McCormick's decision in the district court, which is the trial court,
Anytime I
and
pull out a
actually a trial
card,
did take place over
it's
several
upside
weeks.
down,
Several
or yeah,
schools
like
and
if
districts
it's in
had
reverse,
testimony, and he heard testimony from the kids, and he heard testimony from experts.
I still have
And
to
the
read it
critical
as
part of this case is the attorney, David
bad or
Marcus. He put on evidence not only
But if it comes out
with the
first,
children, but he
it
brought in
means
experts,
it's happening in the
sociologists,
present. To
education
me, it's happening in the
experts who said
present.
that segregation was bad for the children. It gave them a sense of inferiority. It was noted that they wouldn't learn English or be Americanized or learn our
Something
culture
like that.
if they were segregated. They had to be integrated. And so
Yeah, it depends on how I'm reading it.
And he was the first judge that I've ever read, and I've talked to several professors.
Yeah, it depends on how I'm reading it and what I'm
a lot of
getting.
law schools in California.
But right now,
This
I'm
was the
just
first
like,
time
just pulling cards because
opinion that said separate is never equal. And he said the separate facilities, even if they were equal, were not permissible under the 14th Amendment.
trying to calm myself down too, because it does help me when I read the card, when I see the cards that I'm pulling. It makes me stop and go, okay, I gotta look it up now. When I'm walking, like wherever I'm at, I could be in court and I'll just be listening to one of my old videos and I'm talking about one of these cards, and that's for me to be like, all right, I gotta look up this card, and then when I do it, it's relating to what's happening in court.
To help, and they criticized him
So
for being involved. And,
it's helping me.
Why do you want to be involved? Why do you want to make trouble? And so
people were, they figured that they were going to be bothered, and they rather stay the way it was than try to fix it.
I think any people who are in a vulnerable position are afraid to make themselves more vulnerable. They're afraid to make waves.
Yeah, I got what I'm getting is stand your ground.
To upset the status quo,
the
even
storm,
if the status quo is not
you're going in another storm,
so it
and you're just gonna have to like
just
be ferrying around and just be like, fuck you. I'm good. I'm breaking down, but I'm good because I'm breaking down because I gotta release. So as long as you're releasing, yeah, I'm crying down the street, but I'm also fucking freaking out because I'm like, some cop, someone's gonna say like, I am,
going to the meetings and going up to Sacramento.
I need pills and I don't.
They're in the store.
These cops are like,
where a lot of the meetings were
they're
held.
fucking stupid. They're stuck on stupid. These cops are just too busy sucking each other's dicks, and they don't care to help.
The folks returning from the war really saw that they could be treated equally and should be.
I was discharged from the service in May of 1946, and that school semester, October and September, I was involved in it because my daughter Janice, the smallest daughter, she was enrolled in the school at the Roosevelt School, which was a non-segregated school, and
I wonder why Westminster is very haunted.
And their parents said,
how come you enrolled a Perez family? I do know for a fact, and they are asking me. They are asking me. The Westminster Cemetery, Memorial Cemetery, is fully haunted. It's not. It's fully like they're upset. They are mad. They want justice.
Lincoln School, which was a segregated school.
Like there's a strong energy field there that is just negativity. It calls to me. It pulls me.
It was from the American Jewish Congress. It was one from the Japanese
and
Congress.
I'm like, I just.
And the NAACP and Thurgood Marshall.
They're celebrating. I'm celebrating. And
because he was a lawyer for the NAACP.
It's amazing to get that support. It is, because it does feel like when I go to my dad's cemetery, it does feel like peace and home. It does feel comfort.
They all fought, and finally they did win. A few months later, Governor Warren, he was a governor at that time here in California, and he decided that he would desegregate the whole California after this trial. June 1947. So California,
they did tear down some of the Westminster schools, and they built apartments, a senior house, senior living house.
The two very important people, Thurgood Marshall, that helped
more apartments too.
The lawyer for the Brown versus Board of Education, and Governor Warren, who was our governor here in desegregated
Why are
California.
they doing that? It's because when something bad happens, like either rape or death or something traumatic happens in a school, they will tear down that school and build something else out. So, and they will like sweep it under the rug, so no one gets, so that school doesn't get brought back up again. So people can be like, I don't know what you're talking about. We have no records of that school being here. There's no records of kids getting murdered, raped, missing. There's no records of your kid here. There's no record. There's no school.
And Mr. Peters helped to forestall that criticism by busing his own daughter to the Hoover School rather than sending her to the school which was in his immediate neighborhood.
When we won the case, we were living in Santa Ana, and I remember I had to go to an all-white school. And when I went, it was very difficult at
remember
first.
When my son Anthony was in
Didn't have any
school,
Mexicans in the school.
Colin was in preschool, and there was a mom bitching at in the office because there was she was the only white student in a Vietnamese class, and she's like, my daughter's the only one. Like, can't you put her in a class that has someone that is other than Vietnamese? It's like, I'm not being racist, but she's the only one. That's not right. She doesn't know their language. She's not getting along with them. She doesn't have friends. She feels left out. No one's like the parent was concerned, and I can see why she was concerned, because like, yeah, they don't, a lot of Vietnamese people, they don't like white people, and the kids will show it. And when my kids got older, I noticed that a lot of the Vietnamese parents do not like Mexicans. They hated Mexicans. And some of the Vietnamese communities came from, some of them, they're not from here, or they were, some of them were victims of the LA riots. So they came to Westminster. So they don't like any blacks, any Mexicans. And when I came to Westminster, I'm like, my dad, he lectured me on some of that stuff. And he even videotaped the LA riot, so he would always watch it. Just pop in the tape and watch it, and just like,
they're all united. That's what
this
they
is
are.
what happened.
And they make one country. And I think that's
It was
probably the
neat.
greatest part of it.
I really didn't realize
Now I can see
that
that
much
he would
prejudice
just,
was there at that time.
it was like
I'm
a
really
DVR at the
surprised,
time.
because the
He
three
would
of
just
us would play
record it
together
on TV
while
and
they
then
were
watch it later.
fighting this issue.
And
So I really didn't realize it
a couple,
was to
he
that
started doing
degree,
that.
but I'm glad that they did, because everyone, deserves.
Like, as long as
a
I can
good
remember,
education.
he started doing that.
That's what United
And he
States
had a
is
bunch of
about,
tapes.
I think.
He even had
And
tapes
I'm glad
of
that they did that.
when I was a
Very
baby,
proud
and
of
he
that
would be
Memphis
recording the
family.
news
Yeah.
From my father's perspective,
for the longest time. So then when my brother got hit, that's all I did. I went to the news.
another family while they were in camp. But as I look at it, the bigger picture, it's really interesting how the prejudice sent our
This also
family
has to
camp
do with
during
the
those years.
trains, Santa Fe train.
It was interesting too that how the story now shows that the lack of prejudice, how we leased land to a Mexican family who we really trusted, and they cared for the land really well. But it really benefited and blessed our family in the long run, that they could come home.
And
back to their
the
land,
Westminster
back to their home.
Mall
And I
was
think
the
it's just a really great story about how
goldfish farm.
prejudice really hurts the opportunity for all kinds of people.
I think I blocked most of it out. I probably didn't realize there was prejudice in this world until I was probably 15.
See?
Before that, it was just playing and having fun. We never spoke of things like that.
You think it was fun, but it really wasn't fun.
To school, they forgot about it.
And I noticed in Westminster, they were pulling the, it would piss me off. You would have like the Mill, you would have Sequoia School, Eastwood School, all the white places, all the white area school would be really fancy. And then Wilmore would be horrible. What other school would be bad? Anderson was getting bad. Now, over the time, the white schools was getting were getting beaten up. Wilmore was bad. There's another school right in there. I'm trying to figure out.
because this was the norm, it was the practice, and it's the way Mexican children were treated. Mendez versus Westminster,
I'm getting a
Santa
blank.
Ana Unified School District, El Medina Unified School
But
District,
there is certain
Garden
schools
Grove
that
School District was very significant
were getting
in that it had a
special
ripple
treatment.
effect across the Southwest and was the precursor to Brown versus Board of Education, the Topeka, Kansas case that came down in 1954, which dismantled segregated schools for black children. But it also had the effect of dismantling the other de jure segregation that was in effect at that time, such as segregated housing, restaurants,
And Westminster
pools.
is all that.
1 year after Mendez was
If you
decided,
fix the schools, you're not going to fix the communities like that. Because a lot of people in the community don't want
segregated Asian American students into separate schools, and another statute that segregated Native Americans.
My father died in 1964, but he never knew about the school. My mother got to know that the school was going to be built after her, but she never did see the school. She died before the school was built, but she was very proud of it, that the school was going to be named after her.
My mom was a person of faith, and she wanted us to make sure, she wanted everybody to treat everybody with respect. The golden rule, treat people as you expect them to treat you.
And it's funny
And
because my
that's what
dad
she
died
taught
on
us.
Golden West and Trask.
My daughter, my youngest daughter,
So when that happened, when he
went to,
died,
Riverside University.
I
And,
couldn't
she
even,
was
when I
reading
called
this book,
911,
North of Mexico.
I couldn't even remember the street. I was
ready.
just staring at it and I'm
She
like,
just- she
what does
started
it
reading about
say?
her
What
father
does
and
it
her brothers
say?
and
I
this
know
and
the
this.
streets.
This is
I
my
go here all the
family.
time.
And she didn't know nothing about him because I never even told
I'm
her.
like,
After we fought and we got out
Golden West,
everything,
like Trask,
one and
Golden West, I
everything,
don't
we
know
got
where I'm
everything
at. I don't know. I don't
all
know.
right. So we just
But
Everything's
eventually I
north,
got,
we never mentioned it.
I got to tell the 911
We just make
operator
a point.
where I was
We
located.
live on one side of Santa Ana.
And
We take them across the street to another
I
school.
can get him out of the car.
Just to
He
show
was
them
too
that they
heavy
could
to
go
get out of the
to
car.
any
We couldn't
school
get him
they
out of the
wanted.
car. My mom was
Well,
throwing
I'm
up.
proud.
We had people
I'm
just
proud that,
staring at us like
that
it was a
at least
fucking
we had the courage
circus.
to do it, to fight for, not for our children, but for the
I
other
had a
children,
lot
their
of people
children
around.
and
I had
their
a lot of
children,
spirits, a lot of ancestors
and
around
for all
me.
the communities.
My dad passing was I'm gonna say beautiful. I wish it was different. But I'm glad he was able to have the experience. It is what it is. I do have to accept the fact of that, but I don't have to accept the fact of what the judge told me. I have to accept the fact that I am who I say I am. And the judges took an oath, and the judges failed. So it's if I was appointed, then I gotta prove to myself that I can take down the government. I can take down the Pope. It's sad. I just miss my kids. I even did one with the Native American school
California has
too.
always been on the forefront of social change. But few people know that California led the way to school desegregation 7 years before the historic Brown versus the Board of Education ruling. California Assemblymember Mary Salas wants people to know about the 1947 U.S. Court
I'm
of
a
Appeals
victim
decision in the
of
case
sexual
of Mendez
abuse,
versus Westminster,
verbal
a
and
case
mental
that
abuse
involved
in the
a
Westminster School
Mexican-American
District.
family, the Mendez family, whose children were denied entry into a public school in Orange County.
Mr. Mendez then leased the property from this Japanese farmer to raise crops, and when he did that, then he tried to enroll his children in school, and the children were turned around and they were told that they needed to go to the Mexican school that was further away. And it was very common at the time that schools in California were segregated.
School segregation was not the only racial injustice in California at the time. This happened during World War II, a time when Japanese Americans were being rounded up and placed in internment camps.
Yep.
The farm the Mendez
Amy
family
West
was
brought
leasing
that up
belonged
too.
to a Japanese family who were forced off their land.
And she was claiming that it was her country that was doing it to her. And I'm like, are you sure it was her country or not the U.S. doing it? Because something doesn't sound right. Amy West story.
Their children in the school.
Salas believes it's vital that we not forget this part of our history. That's why she's authored Assembly Bill 531.
Amy West and the school board district are using this religion and God, the Jesus. They are getting churches to pay for their votes.
It teaches them that, intolerance to one racial group is an intolerance to all of us. That if we allow an injustice to one, it affects us all.
Not only was the Mendez case a precursor to the Brown versus the Board of Education ruling, the Mendez case was cited in the landmark Brown decision. This report was produced by the Speaker's Office of Member Services.
So funny, Sylvia Brown. So when I was in shipping and receiving, helping out because they didn't give me I needed an extra class because I was all caught up with I went to summer school to get points, just to get extra points. So I had points or whatever. So I had a free class. So they gave me a class. And I went there shipping and receiving, and I met the employee, that was his name, Keith or Kevin Sagerstrom. And he passed away on a motorcycle. And when he passed away on the motorcycle, he instantly brought up the school and band. Because his son was in band, Toby. That was difficult because he told me sorry. Because he treated me differently, and then when he had the higher ups, like this the school district people come, it was Mr. Crook and the superintendent, the principal, the higher ups up there, when they would come and visit or when they would talk to him, he would completely be a dick to me, completely change his attitude, boss me around, or I remember one time I had a question and I was waiting, and they're all men. They were all men. They can clearly see that I was waiting just so I can be gone so I could go and deliver my stuff. They're talking, I have a job to do, and they're adults and I'm waiting so I can say excuse me, but they're ignoring me. And he's like, what do you need? What do you want? Instead of usually, hold on, excuse me, what do you need? Do you have a question? Something? Because you are supposed to be where you need to be. Instead, what do you want? What do you need? It was kind of rude. And it was, to me, I got, he's trying to impress the buddies. He's trying